Alright guys, here's my next fun tool. This is the digital dial bore indicator. And this one here has a readout on the top which you can set to what you're trying to do. And for example, the Onan cylinder is 3¼ inches. So I set my thing here to say 3.25. And you take something that's a known constant like a micrometer, set to 3.25 inches, and what we do is we put this in there and zero it out, and it'll start at 3.25 when it's at 0. So let me do that real quick. It's kind of tricky, all this crap, but I will put this in the micrometer, and then I will hit 0 on the meter. This is easier said than done. This is almost like a two-person job, to be honest with you. And anyways, I'm going to zero it out, and then we'll go over to the engine and we'll measure the bores. Alright, so I've got my bore here, and I'm going to bring this tool in there, and we'll take a look. We've got 3.2539, 3.2508. Now usually they're worn more on the bottom. 3.2502, 3.2503, 4. This bore is actually really nice, I'll tell you that. This freaking bore is mint. Now we'll take it and we'll turn it 90 degrees and we'll do some more. 3.250708. Our bore is in a real nice shape. I'm really impressed about that. So what we'll do is we'll come over to the other side of the motor and we'll scope out this other bore. And this bore is actually the one that had the good rod in it that wasn't blown. I'm just going to hose it down here for a second. And let's see what kind of readings we get on this side. 3.250, 3.2498, 3.25001. Damn, this thing is mint. 3.2504, 2504, 2506. We'll do 90 degrees off. I got a piece of wood here, it's not helping me. There we go. 3.2503, 0202, 3.25040. It's hard to hold it square. You got to make sure you're really square. 3.249. So our bore seems to be real nice. And what I'm actually going to do here is get my micrometer again and measure my pistons. And I've got two pistons here that came out of the bore. I'm actually going to measure them up with that micrometer and kind of see where they're at, and then that way we'll know if we're within spec. Now let's see, I've got a piston and I've got my micrometer, and different people will tell you different things about the clearance that you should have between the piston and the sidewall. Some people will say 3,000, some people will say 5,000. Kind of like the 3 area myself. So the question is, if we were to measure this piston, it looks like it's at about 3.247, 3.246, somewhere in that zone. So if you think about it, if we were at 3.25 over there, if we were at 3.247 here, we have 3,000 clearance, which is exactly what we're spec'd out to be. And I think that's a good thing. And you got to measure at the widest part of the piston, which usually measure right beneath the oil ring area. And these pistons here are not circular on both sides. Like for example, where the rings go, where the piston pin goes here, it's more or less squared off. So I measured over here on these sides this way, and we don't have to do a thing to the bore, which is great. So what I really need is a crank that meshes, and I'm gonna have to resort to eBay again. And it's really tough because the people that sell stuff on eBay, they don't have measuring capabilities to tell you the exact specs of that crank pin. They may measure it in one spot and not, you know, a whole bunch of spots, so you don't know if it's round. It's a really tough thing to do. There's a couple guys that are selling cranks for like 125 bucks, which is a lot of money to spend on something if you're going to get it and it's a piece of crap. My $25 crank, I don't care, like it was worth the gamble to me. But what I do know is that I'm very happy I don't really have to have any machine work done on the block. I just need to find a crank that's good. And that's probably going to be tough unless I can really trust one of these guys with their measuring. And it's so easy to be off by a 0.001, 0.002. I don't really trust these guys online measuring stuff. So that being said, I'm going to go back to the drawing board here and find out if there is a such thing as a 30 under rod or a 40 under rod. And if there is, I don't know if I'm allowed to use one rod that's 40 under and one that's standard, or do I need to turn down both cylinders. So I'm going to have to call my engine rebuilder tomorrow and find out from him what he thinks. And this isn't going to be a quick fix. It'll be a little bit before we get any solutions here, so stay tuned in. Now here's the inside of the block, and there's a little chunk out of the bottom of the bore here where the rod had taken it out. Now I don't think it matters because I don't think the piston goes down any farther than about where my finger is. So I have a feeling that if I just make sure that that's smooth, that I've got no issues with that because it's below the surface of where the piston would be traveling. But that does concern me a little bit. But these cylinders are just in remarkably good shape. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I can just take a hone on my drill for 2 seconds in there and just clean them up. And other than that, there's no real other defects to this block or anything. The points box here. That's really the only issue with this motor. Now I gotta get that crank. Looks like there might be a broken cooling fin back here. I'm not sure if that's broken or what. Oh, it looks like it might be cracked off, but I don't think that's really going to affect anything. I wasn't sure if that's broken or if that's by design for... No, that has nothing to do with it. So maybe I might have a cooling fin that snapped off, but I don't think that matters to anything. One fin on this huge motor. Yeah, that's about it.